Welcome to the podcast, where we introduce you to incredible humans who share their journeys with the mission to inspire you to harness your own inner tenacity to drive your life and career forward. And now, your host, Adam Posner.
We are back with a familiar face, Sarah Reynolds, CMO of HiBob, one of my favorite companies out there because they do things the right way for the right reasons with the right people, and they stick to their values. And I said this when you were on my show a couple of months back. We see it.
Thank you.
How does that approach help you attract the right talent? Or weed out the not right talent?
Yeah, totally. I think that it's really obvious when you live your values out loud. Like, it's really obvious the companies that make values more than just words on a poster in the break room. And I think that for HiBob, like, one of the things we really pride ourselves on is that we are doing just that. Whether it's like my people team and showcasing the work that they do and calling it, like drinking our own Merlot, when it comes to like living, the HR best practices that we recommend
We've elevated from Kool-Aid.
Yeah, elevated from Kool-Aid, of course. Yeah, no Hawaiian Punch, only the best Merlot. Whether it's that or it's just attracting the kind of talent who really truly lives those same values that we do, I think that it's an incredible differentiator, especially for like small, mid-sized businesses who are looking at the conversation about, maybe like DEI and mass media and saying like, hey, actually, the underlying principles of diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging are fundamental to not just my business, but actually my business's success. Like, this is how I differentiate myself as an employer of choice in a market where lots of the, big brand name employers or employers of choice or the world's best or, whatever awards you're on are suddenly moving away from the values that we all sort of thought were like, commonly held or commonly understood to be like table stakes.
So let's set the stage here for a moment. I want to weed out the people that are against the DEIB initiatives that are just outright racist assholes. Let's just set them aside. Let's just put that aside for a minute. Let's talk about good people who, for whatever reason, they're against it. What message are they not getting? What are they not understanding? What's not being communicated clearly to them, and why do you think they're against it?
I think that there's this idea of like a scarcity mindset right now. I mean, think about the economy. Think about the fact that it costs, $12 to get a single egg or whatever we're up to now. Think about inflation. Think about the rising cost of living. Think about, everything that is putting pressure on your ability to feed your family, pay your mortgage, really like, you talking about like Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Like, we're talking like real fundamental stuff.
I need my eggs.
Yeah, right? Like, I gotta eat. I gotta live. Right? I gotta have shelter. Like, it's very basic. It's like very like primal almost. You're talking about like this economic situation where, salaries aren't keeping up with the rising cost of living, and people are really worried about job security, and they're worried about like the rise of AI, which is, adding to this conversation. They're really worried about like a lot of executives are saying the quiet part out loud right now, when it comes to topics like AI, like, hey, AI is going to allow us to lay off, 2,000 people in our workforce because we're going to be more productive. Well, I don't have job security suddenly. So, when I'm really worried about that, I'm really in this scarcity mindset. Like, I have to hold tight to the things that I can get.
Defensive.
Yeah, you feel defensive, right? And I have to hold tight to the things that I can get because nobody looks out for me except me. And I think that people who are in that scarcity mindset, especially when they're a member of a community who's long benefited from being the quote unquote majority or from having some of the privilege or the benefits of privilege, right? They think that like if someone else is receiving equitable treatment or someone else is given an opportunity, that comes at the direct expense to their opportunity. And when you combine that with like I think the overall economic situation, this idea of this scarcity versus abundance mindset, you're like, I don't want to share. I'm scared. Like I'm really scared about my ability to do very fundamental things.
Survival. It's almost defensive survival at this point where like that's your outward to be against something.
Yeah, and if you get something, then you're directly taking it away from me, which I think is, to me, exactly the wrong mindset, right? Like just because someone else is getting an opportunity or, we're leveling the playing field for someone else doesn't mean that it's coming at your expense. But I think you can imagine why lots of people are maybe like missing the memo on...
They didn't get the memo.
Yeah, on, why things like diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging are so important.
You know what's so funny? It's not funny. It's funny that it's not funny. my past guest, Amira Berger from Edelman, we were talking about that. So many folks are against DEIB don't realize that includes veterans, LGBT, disabled, women. And like, oh, that's someone in my family. That's a sibling. That's a brother. That's a child. That's a mother, a daughter, a son. And
totally.
I think that there's a communication problem. There's a branding problem with the DEIB. I think that the acronym stays, but we need to do a better job of saying what this is, who's it for, and how it levels the playing field instead of giving advantages.
Yeah, I think that's true. And I think that like one of the things that this discussion in the like sort of mass media has taught us is that a lot of people don't think of themselves as benefiting from those programs. I mean, there was a lot of media coverage of people, especially women, white women who were,
Karens.
who were saying like, well, but what do you mean that like, I'm considered in your mind a diversity hire? And it's like, yeah, friend, like it's not just people who are me, who are openly trans and non-binary or disabled, right? It's you. And it's, very basic things that you, again, like take for granted or you think are table stakes in the workplace that have come out of, what we would now call DEIB programs. I mean, think about something like maternity leave, right? Like caregiver leave.
I mean, these are basic, like human things that you think you should get at a company that you're not. I mean, these are things that are important to them that fall under this.
Right. And, I'm a marketer, right? So I can say, hey, we have a branding problem. I do DEI consulting. And one of the things I've said is like, if the acronym is the problem, like genuinely, if the acronym is the problem, like use different words. Like when I talk about inclusive marketing, I might have shared this when we talked last time, but when I talk about inclusive marketing to an audience that I know is not necessarily receptive to the idea of inclusivity in marketing, I talk about audience widening strategies because somebody who's a go-to-market, who's a go-to-market leader, they understand what audience widening tactics get them in a way that doesn't make them defensive. And, it's really,
Sarah.
It's like sad. I think it's funny, sad, funny that you have to potentially do that rebrand to get, again, something that you would probably think is like obvious, things that make businesses, run forward, become more innovative, et cetera. But I do think that like, if the acronym is a problem, okay, ditch the acronym, commit to the underlying principles.
Which is values.
They're values.
They're values here. So let's switch it up a little bit. Where do I want to take this conversation here? So we're sitting here. It is Tuesday afternoon. We're looking around this trade floor here. There's lots of competitors. We're going to talk competition. Are there a lot of competitors to HiBob?
I think we do something different. I mean,
what do you guys do different?
I think we are serving a market that doesn't really have the perfect solution outside of HiBob. We call our customers like members of the 3M club. So 1M stands for modern, meaning you're very people-centric. When I talk to HR people, I say you give a shit about your employees. Mm-hmm. Lots of people hopefully laugh because you've probably had the experience of working at a company that doesn't. And you probably, hopefully you get the experience of working at a company that does and you know the difference. Mid-size, so for us, between 50 and 5,000, and then multinational. And I think that that's one of the key differentiators for us because global companies have these unique HR challenges, right? You want to deliver a great global, consistent employee experience. And, even in topics like DEIB, right? Like suddenly something that in a lot of the world is core maybe to your company values is if you're a government contractor in the US or a federal grant recipient, like you have to move away from, you end up with these like very fractured sort of like, employer brand statements, corporate cultures. I mean, look at like Deloitte US is like, we're dropping DEIB while Deloitte Australia is like, we're doubling down. Like, I mean, you want to create a culture that's consistent in your organization regardless of where you operate. And I think that
we're a global world. I mean,
totally
borders are down and it's a scary place out there. So as a CMO of an organization, what are those threats to HiBob right now? What are those threats from a competitor perspective?
I think that we're seeing a lot of, folks who want to move into the HCM space.
What's HCM for anyone out there?
Human capital management. So a lot of folks who maybe started in the payroll space, they're adding HCM or HRIS capabilities. That's been happening for a long time. A lot of folks who are in the EOR space are maybe adding HCM or HRIS capabilities. Folks are coming from comp, they're coming from pure talent management. They're expanding their footprint because they want to come into that space that's really sticky in an organization. But I think the difference is, we were sort of built there to begin with. We started as core HR. We expanded out from a platform perspective. We've never really been just like a single point solution, which means that, again, it was built very purposely from birth to really deliver like deep functionality rather than just sort of like surface level. Hey, I have your employee data all in one place. Right. Hey, you can do a little bit of performance management or a little bit of employee surveying. Like, we want to be the last HCM that you ever buy.
You know what? Now we're going to get to the fun part. We just talk shop.
Hey everyone, we'll jump right back into the conversation, but first let's talk about a game changer in hiring, Greenhouse. Greenhouse is the leading hiring platform that helps companies get measurably better at hiring. Because when it comes to building great teams, every hire should be the right hire. With Greenhouse, you don't just fill roles, you transform your hiring with a structured process that ensures fairness, removes bias, and enables data-driven decisions. AI-powered workflows in Greenhouse streamline every step from sourcing top talent to personalizing the candidate experience, allowing recruiters to focus on strategic, high-impact hiring that drives real business outcomes. The result? A faster, more efficient process that turns talent into a true competitive advantage. Over 7,500 companies, including HubSpot, Duolingo, Gong, JD Power, and Scout24, trust Greenhouse to optimize their hiring process and take candidates from talented prospects to top performers. And it's not just the best hiring platform, it's also a great place to work. Greenhouse has been recognized by Fortune, Inc. magazine, Glassdoor, Forbes, and more as a top workplace. Want to hire better, faster, and more fairly? Visit greenhouse.com today and get ready to hire for what's next. All right, back to the show.
Without incriminating anybody, we're in Las Vegas. Please share the story of bailing someone out of jail in Las Vegas.
So I'm chief marketing officer. I go to a lot of trade shows and events. My team knows that I'm infamous for the pre-event team meeting.
Give me the 30-second version of that speech. You're the coach. I'm the player.
Yeah.
All right. Go to Vegas. All right, team.
Hey, Adam, you're wearing the HiBob logo, right? That means that you're a steward of the brand. Right. You need to be careful about, what you're saying, who you're talking to. You need to be aware of the fact that lots of people have cameras and podcast mics and, everybody is looking for, a comment that's going to make the news, right? Here are the things that we talk about. Here are the people that you refer to talk to me as opposed to, talk to you on the sales floor. Oh, by the way, hey, we're in Vegas. Lots of opportunities to have fun.
Sin City for a reason.
Maybe to indulge, right? But, again, please be mindful. You're an employee of the company, whether you're wearing our brand or not. Please don't make me bail you out of jail. And I always say, I've bailed somebody out of jail before. I will do it again. But, I'm not going to be happy about it. And you're not going to be happy about it. And I was joking to you before we started recording that every time somebody laughs, that's an anecdote that I made up. And I have to sort of say no, team, that's something that I had to do. Marketing is not always glamorous. I've
actually done that.
I have actually done that. I don't want to do it again. It makes for a very bad day for me and certainly for the person.
I think we learned, those are early career lessons, right? We all,
totally.
Listen, I remember back in the day, my first trip to Vegas as an employee there. But at the end of the day, you're representing brands. Let's end it here with some positivity. Let's start micro, macro. Let's start inside the organization. Right now, what's putting a smile on your face within your company as a whole? From your perch, I like that. From your perch as CMO, what are you seeing that's making you smile right now within the company?
We really pride ourselves, I think, in marketing to give my team a big shout out and a big kudos, as we say at HiBob. We pride ourselves on having a brand that looks different from everybody else and from doing marketing a little bit different from everybody else. And so if you were here with us on site at Transform, you would go by the HiBob booth and you would see a giant black old school British telephone box. And it would say, leave us your HR confession. We're doing a lockup with
I like that.
Hiba Youssef, who runs the I Hate It Here newsletter in the safe space community. We're actually recording anonymous HR confessions. Tell us your HR horror story. Tell us about the worst thing you've ever seen at work. Tell us about that thing that you can't get off your mind.
What I've seen. These lips could talk.
Yeah, we are going to, we're going to put a robot voice on it. It's totally anonymous. People are living it on an old school telephone answering machine. We're going to put it out as content afterward, give some tips for hey, a lot of us go through the same challenges, but because we don't have these safe space communities to talk to each other, there's no HR for HR. Oftentimes sometimes you can feel really alone. Like, I'm seeing some shit and I'm the only one who's ever seen it before and I don't know who to ask. And so we want to create this sort of like opportunity for people to, share, some funny anecdotes about maybe what they've seen, but also to take away maybe some like learnings about, how people have navigated these really difficult challenges that come along with our careers.
I love that. I want to double back for a minute here. There's something we kind of glazed over, which I think I've heard. I hear I hear the things, they come together, and I'm hearing a lot of negativity about HR being the narc cliches that they are in a lot of organizations where they think HR is a safe space, and it turns out it just backfires on their ass and they get fired and they get like pigeonholed into something, they get blamed for something else. How do we end this shit?
I think it's about...
It's happening.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's about like changing the narrative of maybe like what HR is and also setting expectations about what HR isn't. Like, one thing that I talk about with the clients I work with is, do your HR business partners, do your employees really know like what the role of an HR business partner is? Oftentimes when you're a leader, it's very well set out for you. Like, this is what an HR business partner does. But when you're in your first job out of college, like, how are you to know if that person is like a kind ear and
you don't know?
And
Fair point.
And your friend, or they have a responsibility to the organization that if you tell them something that they need to take action on, then they need to take action on. And I think that like one thing that we can all do better in this space is really set expectations and educate people, especially folks who are new to the workforce, about what's the role of HR in an organization? What do we do? We're very thoughtful people. We're very oftentimes very pro-employee people. We're very we are fighting the good fight to make sure that people are paid fairly, to make sure that things like DEIB are prioritized in the organization. But we're also, not perfect. We are running a business. It's not
to look out for the company.
Yeah,
also.
Exactly. Like we have to play this dual role. So
maybe this is something that should get brought up in onboarding more. We're going to bring in someone from HR. They're going to talk about their role, what they do, and how they could support you. Maybe it's alignment on expectations earlier on when an employee comes on. Maybe it's a communication thing. So I'm not sure if I asked this question, and we've been talking a lot of shop talk here, but I want to get back to some personal stuff here. I already professed my love for you professionally.
Now it's time to do it personally.
Yes, just how you show up in the community, how you show up for your team, how you show up for your people, and how you are your true, most authentic self that radiates. And I appreciate that. So Sarah, you've been through some shit. Personally and professionally, you've been through it. You've had your metamorphosis. You've dealt with the haters at home. You dealt with the haters professionally too. What keeps you focused? What is your North Star? What keeps you aligned? What is that compass?
I think it's like being true to the chosen self that I bring to work. A lot of times we talk about bring your authentic self to work, but the reality is for many people, they can't do that for a variety of reasons. They fear professional repercussions. They fear for their maybe emotional safety, their physical well-being. They fear being judged. So I think about, I was recently introduced to this concept of your chosen self, right? We all bring the best version of our chosen self to work. And it's about really, creating the space where you can bring, more of your chosen self, or the chosen self that feels right for you and feels appropriate for you and feels safe for you at any given time. And if I can create that environment for myself where I can show up authentically, if I can create that environment for employees, if I can maybe show a little bit of the imperfection that is Sarah, maybe I can create space where someone will show me a little bit more of their chosen self. And I think that that's really genuinely a beautiful thing, because I think that that's really how you create that culture where, you're always talking, you're always learning, and you are genuinely getting to know people as people, not just as employees of an organization.
Ladies and gentlemen, and everyone else out there, the people of the world, Sarah Reynolds, HiBob, where can folks find you? Where can they connect? Where they can learn more?
Guys, gals, non-binary pals, and those who prefer not to say, if you would love to say hi to Bob, please go to hibob.com. Drop us a note. If you want to say hi to me, the easiest place to find me is on LinkedIn. I'm /Sarah Liz Reynolds.
Is it okay when I ubiquitously call everybody guys? I took everybody, is that an okay thing when I frame it that way? Hey guys.
It's not as inclusive as you could be. So I usually...
How would I reframe that?
Yeah, so pick English.
Hey people.
Yeah, English is a beautiful language.
There's lots of options.
There's lots of options that are gender neutral. People, some people say folks or friends.
I use folks a lot.
Team, Y'all. If you're from Pittsburgh, you could say yins.
I can't go with yins.
I can't get away with that.
Work with me.
Definitely not for me. But yeah, absolutely. Find a word that's like works for your personal style, that's easy to swap in one for one, and just pay attention to when you use it. Correct yourself. That's how language gets like stuck in your brain.
Repetition.
It's all about repetition. And, you'll start to notice that, over time, it's not easy, but over time you do shift.
Sarah Reynolds, folks, that's how we do it here on the podcast.
Wisdom is forever, but for us, it's time to go. Thank you for joining us. Luckily, we'll be back with our next episode soon, jam-packed with more incredible humans. Thank you for listening, subscribing, and sharing. To join the conversation, search the podcast on LinkedIn. And to catch up on past episodes and more info, please visit www.thepodcast.com.